I'm super excited to have my client Nicole with me, and we're going to just talk about your journey today and all the beautiful transformation that has happened through a year of working together. So, the first thing I want to ask is what were you struggling with before you reached out?
I would say the biggest issue I was having was binge eating, purging, kind of just trying to satisfy my emotions through food. Um, those are probably the biggest struggles that had been going on for quite a while.
And what in particular prompted you to reach out to me?
I heard your podcast, and actually, I heard you on someone else's podcast, and then went to your podcast. Um, and I really liked that it was sort of a different approach. It was looking at things more from the hormone perspective, also taking into account things like the spirituality and all the kind of looking at the whole picture rather than what are you eating or like the diety type stuff. It was like the opposite of a diet, which was very appealing to me as well because I've already tried all the diets. So it was just something different, something I hadn't heard before, and really liking the idea of it having that spiritual aspect also.
Yeah, totally. And how did, when we started working together, how did the support start to help you? Like, what were some of the first things you noticed, like with the binge eating? Let's be
Um,
specific with the binge eating first.
so right away, I noticed that I was not binging. The binging was a little slower. I would say the purging was the first thing that completely went away.
Mhm.
And it had been, I would say, maybe a decade of off and on. So that was really amazing. Um, and then I would say then it was the purging, really getting clear on what the triggers were for that and using the tools for when those moments would come up so that I wasn't caught in that cycle of kind of just that behavior I was essentially stuck in before. Um, so those were the biggest right away changes. And then as we kind of progressed, I started noticing more of my intuition kind of coming back. That was something that I felt really disconnected from for a long time. And once we started talking about it, it was like within a couple months, I would say I started feeling like I was not only more in tune with my own body, but like the concept of like intuitive eating. It was like I could never do that before because I couldn't feel my own intuition, my own signals from my body. It was like my brain was hijacked. So it was like getting that feeling of listening to my body to know what to do and trusting in that.
Yeah, and I remember looking at your intake form, and one of your top things was reconnecting with my intuition. And I
Yeah.
remember you coming to a session, and that was your celebration. And it's incredible what happens when we stop the binge eating and our intuition comes back online, sometimes stronger than ever before.
Yeah.
How did the support help you, like emotionally, and physically as well? Because I know there was some certain symptoms and things that we started working on.
Emotionally, I would say it helped me to learn that basically that the emotions are fine to have. It's more of not using the food to deal with them, um, and replacing the use of food with something else. Like, we had lots of tools that we would use, like the tapping was one of the biggest ones that I really got a lot out of. The self-care, different taking on different things that I hadn't done before, um, just kind of in place of food and having different things to turn to and knowing that those things were good for me rather than something that, was essentially hurting me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so glad because everyone has different things that resonate for them. Now, there's one pattern I remember us working on that I wanted to touch on. I remember us going back and forth in Voxer, and you're like, should I get this test done? Should I get this test done? And again, I'm all for testing, but I remember bringing up to you, so I feel like the testing is a pattern to keep like searching for the physical issue rather than going deeper emotionally and energetically. Do you want to talk a
Yeah.
bit about how important it was to have that pattern be identified for you?
Yeah. So I kind of had this mentality that I would find like there'd be some diagnosis and I'd be like, oh, that's the reason that I'm doing all of this. Or there would be some test where it would just reveal some little thing and I'll just fix that one little thing and just like shed all the weight and just be healed. And like it was kind of a delusion, I guess, but also like, I mean, innocently, but it was
Yeah.
being called forward about that was um really helpful because it made me see that I was kind of searching for answers outside of myself when really I knew I was struggling. I was struggling with eating. I was struggling with, emotional eating specifically. Um, and it was kind of a way to like deflect having to actually look at myself and do the actual work. So it was good to be called out for that and kind of put the light on it because I thought I was doing something helpful, like the one more test, but it turned out that it got to the point where it wasn't helpful anymore. And it was kind of a way I was avoiding really doing the work.
Yeah. And how has doing the work improved your quality of life?
So much. Just not bypassing it. Like, it was easy enough before to be like, oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll just continue on today and do better tomorrow. There was always another time when I would start doing the right thing for myself. And then kind of the idea with some of the focus on self-care, it was like care for yourself now. And that was like, it sounds funny, but like that was kind of a new concept for me. It wasn't self-care wasn't really part of my day, my average day. So it was almost like permission to like just stop and take care of myself. And it wasn't something I like would have thought of on my own. So I was glad to get that kind of permission, that allowance of like it's good to take care of yourself, and how necessary it is in this process.
Mhm. Yeah, and we all have those default beliefs and behaviors, right? And they sometimes that's where getting support can really be helpful for us to shine the light on those things because otherwise we stay in our defaults. What was
Yeah.
your favorite parts about the support in the journey?
I would say probably getting to do these like Zoom meetings, the check-ins were really helpful. Kind of just the accountability and the ability to ask questions, like things would come up and it was like I could just send you a message or I knew I'd be talking to you in a couple days. Like, um, so I just feel like I always have questions, so having the direct access to you, like, and your wisdom was really helpful. Um, the other thing I would say, um, the self-care really made a huge difference for me. So that was really great. The tapping and the sacred rage, like the
Mhm.
beat up a pillow, like I really enjoyed that. Needed that more than I knew.
Yeah, right. We do. That's the thing. And that's where when we get familiar with these tools, they help us shift anything. So I'm so glad that those were really helpful for you. Why do you recommend this support?
I would say it's kind of like that step towards like reclaiming yourself. For me, it was. It's a long journey, but like having someone by your side to go with you makes it a lot easier. And sometimes we can get overwhelmed Googling every answer, everything that we want to know. And there's so much information and it's really overwhelming. So having that one like trusted person to go to was so helpful. And then all of the tools, all of the recommendations, the fact that I could say something and almost like I'd think I knew what you were gonna say, and you'd blow me away with something else. I was like, "Oh, dang it, I didn't know that." But, like, I was glad, that's why we're here. So, really helping to, like I said before, just shine the light on all the areas that I was missing, that I couldn't see in myself.
Mm. Is there anything else you want to share?
Um, just that I'm really happy that I did it. I feel like I've benefited in so many ways, and these are tools I mean, we worked together for a year, but, like, I feel like these are tools I can take with me for the rest of my life. So very, very thankful.
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time today. It was such a pleasure to support you. And I'm so glad that you have all these things in your back pocket to move forward with. So thanks again for taking the time today, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you.